Good morning, everybody. Curtis Wilkerson here with Inside Arkansas on the Pod at the Palace, coming to you on this Monday morning. I know it's a big travel day for a lot of you out there, getting to see family, loved ones for the Christmas holiday. So be safe if you're out there on the road, and appreciate you for tuning in. As always, we do have this break now between games. So instead of talking about this year's version of the Arkansas Razorbacks, it's probably as good of a time as any to talk about maybe the future a little bit. So thought I would come and chat with you a little bit about recruiting, do a little bit of fun with some potential portal stuff down the road. And so we'll see. Give you guys an update on Arkansas's incoming freshman class, and then we'll roll through maybe some portal wish list guys based on the feedback that I've been getting recently from folks in the comments. They're curious about who might be targets. We have no idea at this point, but we'll have a little bit of fun at looking at some of the guys that Arkansas has already played who we might like having on the team moving down the road. So let's start with the high school class here. My goodness. I mean, the future Razorbacks were all over my timeline over the weekend in the best way possible, right? I think everybody saw the John Fanta call of Darius Acuff's game winner. That was electric. That was a lot of fun. Listen, it's not being a homer to say that, Arkansas is going to have the most talented backcourt in the country next season in Darius Acuff and Malik Thomas. It's not at all. There are 4 guards ranked in the top 10 in the national rankings of the 2025 class, and those guys are 2 of them. So it just kind of is what it is, and it's exciting times. I can't wait to see that dynamic. I mean, I'm pleased with Arkansas's backcourt right now, especially the freshman and Boogie Fland. And we know Cal's track record with these freshman guards, and he's got a couple dynamite ones coming in, without having any clue whatsoever how the rest of the roster is going to look next year. We don't know, but you already feel pretty good about the foundation with those 2 guys in the fold. Acuff, man, he was on an absolute heater over the weekend. His IMG squad was at the City of Palms Classic, which is it's kind of like the high school season version of Peach Jam. Like, it's all the top teams, it's all the top players getting together for a big tournament and getting after it. And, he was arguably one of the best players there. Thursday, Acuff goes for 38 points on 11 of 15 shooting. He hit 4 threes, had 6 rebounds, 4 assists, only 1 turnover, hit the game winner in overtime. He was sensational. Friday, he goes for 33 points. He knocks down 6 threes. 6 turnovers, 6 assists to just 1 turnover. Balling again. Saturday, he's playing against the Boozer twins. Everybody knows those guys. He goes for 27 points, 8 assists, did not turn it over a single time, just on an absolute tear against great competition. He plays Monday night tonight again at 5:30 in the 3rd place game, and I'm just expecting him to go out and put up numbers again. He looks really, really good out there. Malik Thomas, meanwhile, with Overtime Elite, he's just doing the same ridiculous scoring, that he does pretty much every time he's out there. Had 39 in a game, on Saturday, had 32 in a game prior to that. I mean, these guys are just, they're bucket getters. The firepower in that backcourt is going to be absolutely bonkers. Meanwhile, you've got Springdale's Isaiah Seeley just quietly continuing to go about his business. I saw that he had 25 the other night in a game, and still, just a consensus 4-star top 100 recruit in all the rankings that nobody's really talking about. I think he's really going to surprise some people. Others to watch in this incoming freshman class, we'll see. I think for me, Nate Ament is probably the main one. Another highly coveted 5-star wing, big time player. Cal, as recently as last week, went out to see him, watch him in person. And so that's always something that catches your eye when the head coach is out on the road in season checking on kids. I think they need to get him on campus for an official visit for me to be really serious about the possibilities with Arkansas. A lot of schools have been involved with the man. He's taken a good handful of visits. He has some scheduled. If Arkansas can get in the fray with having him in Fayetteville on an official, maybe you get him in for one of these big SEC Saturday game, get him in for the Alabama game. I think he's committing later on anyway. Get him in for a crazy one, roll out the red carpet, see what happens. That would be a big one. I'd really like to see Arkansas get a freshman big man. I would, but I don't know if it's going to happen in this class or not. We'll see. Muhammad Silla, it's kind of a stock riser, late bloomer, who's really burst onto the scene. He was on campus for a visit recently. He's still uncommitted. A lot of schools in on him. Washington, some schools out west that are really in on him. We'll see how hard Arkansas really pushes there. Mika Murinen is another one. He's a fascinating case. I think Arkansas is probably in a pretty good spot there, but he's still in the 2026 class for now. Like, he would have to decide to reclassify. So we'll see how the rest of it shakes out. But I'm really pleased with the 3 that they have. Honestly, I'm fine if they just wind up with 3 guys in this high school class. I know Cal said 3 to 4. If you have 3 high school guys, have a few returners, and then go do some work in the portal. Portal season is what's exciting for everybody nowadays, but going out and supplementing your immensely talented young guys with veterans who've been there, done that, proven it. I really think that Cal needs to get to 10 to 11 guys who can play next season as opposed to this 9, right? And I think he's quickly realized that. He even sort of admitted as much after that Michigan game, just with all the injuries they've dealt with this season. Some things I don't think he anticipated. We understand, on the surface why he wanted to limit it to 9. Didn't want to have too many mouths to feed, wanted to really be able to focus in on the rotation guys. I get all that. But injuries happen, misevaluations happen. You got to have some more depth. And we'll see how Arkansas navigates the rest of the season. The SEC is going to be an absolute gauntlet. But the biggest thing is they got to be healthy to get through it. You got to get Jonas Adu from 85% to 100%. You got to get Nelly Davis's wrist figured out. And you got to knock on wood. Just hope these guys stay healthy. We're 12 games into the season. We haven't seen Arkansas with all their guys available and healthy out there playing at 100% at the same time. So we really don't even know yet how good this team could be. My point is, I think they're going to stretch out that rotation, or at least from a recruiting standpoint, bring in more capable bodies next season. I would imagine getting to 10, 11. So let's shift gears then a little bit to the transfers for a few minutes. And we'll have a little bit of fun with it. Please give me the Eagle Stat kid from North Dakota who put 40 on Bama the other night. I'm all for it, man. But we'll talk about those guys, when they actually enter the portal down the road. I was thinking about kind of how to go about doing this, because I want to touch on, I've had so many people in the comments being like, what about this guy? What about that guy? Who would you like if they were in the portal? One thing Scotty and I did last season was go through Arkansas's schedule and find the guys that the Hogs played against that we really liked, and highlighted them as maybe portal once or dudes we'd be interested in if they wound up entering the portal a little bit down the road. And you might look at that and say, well, Cal doesn't hit the portal like Muss does. Like Muss was the guy who would go recruit players that they played against or whatever. There's some truth to that, but they're still going to be adding anywhere between 3 to 5 transfers this offseason, I think, depending on who stays and goes. He went and got, I guess, let me preface, I think other people could look at it and be like, well, do they really want anybody from these mid-majors? Arkansas's NIL situation, whatever. I get all that. They went out and got Jonas Adu out of the SEC, John L. Davis, a top-ranked portal guy. They're going to be in the mix for those guys as well. But, just looking at Cal's track record at Kentucky, it was a little bit of a mixed bag there. I think he might attack it a little bit more strategically than people anticipate. And just because he's got money doesn't mean that he won't be doing the same things in terms of filling needs on the roster moving forward. So, if you think back to the Kentucky days, he went and got guys from power conferences like, Oscar Shibwe and Trey Mitchell and Severe Wheeler. I get it. He's from Georgia, but you get my point. But he also added some really, really important mid-major pieces like Antonio Reeves, for example, Kellen Grady, a guy from Davidson a couple years before that. So he shops there. My point is, it's definitely not just a waste of time to be looking at the teams Arkansas has already played and just making note maybe of a few guys. So what I want to do today is just kind of run through the non-conference slate so far and see if there's any guys who maybe catch our eye. If we see them down the road and they enter the portal, and we'll go, oh yeah, I remember that dude. And then we talked about him in December. This is cool. So we'll start at the top and work our way down with Lipscomb. Now, Arkansas is going to be in the market for multiple front court pieces, and I think out of the portal. Remember the big man from Lipscomb? Jacob Ognasovich was his name. I got his little ESPN profile pulled up on the bottom here. Listen, undersized a little bit. The 6'8", 220 might be a stretch. 220, I believe. Really strong built kid, 6'8", maybe 6'6", 6'7". But listen, he's good. He had 16-6 on Arkansas. He had 17-8 a few weeks later against Kentucky. Was just a really tough matchup, if you remember. Really good in pick and roll, in pick and pop, could knock down trail threes, could put it on the deck and drive to the rim. And he's really skilled. Even though he's a below the rim guy, he's really skilled around the basket down there, shooting it over 35% from three on good volume. 18.8 points, 7.2 rebounds, nearly 2 assists per game on a good Lipscomb team, right? Like a very well-coached Lipscomb team. So he'd be fundamentally sound. Do I look at him and say, oh, if he enters the portal, Arkansas's got to get him. He's a starter. He's the dude. No, but I sure would love him as a rotational piece. Like, I wouldn't have a problem at all with that coming off your bench. I think there are definitely worse guys out there that you could get. So, off of Lipscomb, he would probably be the one that stands out to me a little bit. Now, your second game was a high major game against Baylor, right? Like, too bad Norchad O'Meara doesn't have another year of eligibility. I mean, I wish Arkansas would have got him this year. But, to me, Baylor kind of strikes me as a team that's full of seniors and draft picks. Maybe outside of a couple, like Robert O. Wright, for example, is just the freshman. He was not the heralded 5-star like VJ Edgecombe, but he's really popped and looks good. I can't imagine a world where he would leave Baylor unless he's going to the NBA. But if he does, like, sure, go after that dude in the backcourt. They've got a lot of seniors, guys who are going to get drafted. Outside of maybe Langston Love is an interesting one, a 5-star. Arkansas recruited him out of high school under Musselman, didn't get him. I don't know if Cal recruited him or not. Really like him, a 6'5" wing, can really shoot it. The only thing about him is he's just so, unfortunately, been real injury prone. So it would be a big risk. And after this year, I feel like health and durability is going to be a big thing that Arkansas is going to have to look for. Troy was your next game. That was a good team, but here's the thing about Troy. They didn't have any SEC level bigs, I don't think. And they didn't have any real shooters. And so for me, that automatically disqualifies me from being interested. Arkansas shooting it pretty well this year. It's refreshing to see, but I would still like him to continue to evolve from just shooting it well to taking more down the road. Like, I want guys on the floor who are threats. Now, that's just me. But so I might pass on them. Pacific, they weren't a very good team. But what about Elijah Fisher? It's just an interesting name to me. Again, like, not a guy that I would look at and be like, oh, got to get him. He'd be your best player, drop a 7-figure bag kind of dude. But this is a long wing, experienced guy. He's averaging 16-5, not shooting it great from three, but he can hit them. Now, he put 23 on Arkansas on 8 of 10 shooting, and he might have hit his first 8 shots, knocked down 3 threes in that game. I think what makes me a little bit intrigued by a guy like this is he's also a dude who averaged double figures at DePaul. So he produced against better competition in the Big East and showed well for it. So again, starting level guy, no, not by any means. But what if you have, say, Carter Knox and Billy Richmond back as sophomores, and you want to add some experience on the wing that would be willing to come and be a role guy? Could probably do worse than this. So at least if his name enters the portal, we would know who it is, right? The next game, this is interesting, was Little Rock. I got to be honest with you. I low-key wouldn't hate the idea of Jonathan Lawson here. I wouldn't. I mean, he is really, really blossomed over there. I was impressed with him. And it wasn't just when they played Arkansas. He's been doing it all year. You look at the stats here, you see 15.3 points, 6.1 rebounds, 4.1 assists, shooting at a healthy percentage, field goals, 45.5. What you don't see is he's shooting at 42% from three on really good volume. He's made over 33 pointers already. And this is a guy, it's a 6'7" guard who's out there distributing, rebounding, scoring, knocking down threes, pretty good defender. I mean, he does a little bit of everything down there. So, he's another guy who has experience at higher levels. He started his career at Memphis. He played at Creighton, but he's really, really flourished in a spotlight role. So you wonder if getting that experience, that confidence, if he's a guy that transfers back up, that could really pop the way they thought he would, because he was a 4-star prospect coming out of high school. Obviously you would have Chandler Lawson, who could speak to what Fayetteville has to offer, while also pointing out that the coach from his disaster season is out of here, right? So that would be beneficial. But Jonathan Lawson, That's an interesting name to me. It really is. I again, this is not saying he's gonna hit. I have no idea. He might love it with Darrell Walker and be like, "Hey, I want to come back and be the man again." We saw it with KK, right? He went there after it didn't work out at Arkansas, didn't work out at A&M. He goes to Little Rock and he becomes one of the best guards in that league. And he could have hit the portal and probably transferred back up and given it a shot, but he came back because he wanted to have that role. And maybe it's the same thing with Lawson. I know guys like playing for Darrell Walker too. I'm just saying if he becomes available, maybe it would be one that would be worth checking out. The next game, yeah, I think if it's okay with you guys, we're going to go ahead and pass on the Maryland Eastern Shore players. No disrespect, but moving on was that Thanksgiving game against Illinois. Unfortunately, all of the Illini are going to be in the league. I mean, Yakachonis, that point guard, is incredible as a freshman. Yeah, he's going to be a lottery pick. Brother Z, right? Tomislav, I think he's probably going to go pro. And I also I don't get the sense that even if he was available, that Arkansas would try to do that pairing. As cool as it would be, I don't see that happening. I also don't know how it would really work on the floor. I guess stranger things could happen. Will Riley is a really good freshman who's probably going to go pro. From them, maybe, Kylan Boswell, the point guard, strong, sturdy, experienced veteran guard, was at Arizona. Now he's at Illinois. Kind of fits the mold of toughness, I think, that Cal likes there. I don't know why he would leave. Trey White, not a bad wing at all. I might be higher on Jonathan Lawson, though. He's also a guy that's really well-traveled. He was USC to Louisville to Illinois. Neither of those guys are really big-time shooters either. So, Miami. Now, Miami's an interesting case to me. This is a team that's going through it. They're struggling. They were on that big losing streak. It was carrying into the Arkansas game. After the Arkansas game, I think they beat Presbyterian or something, but they lost to Mount St. Mary's the other day. They're struggling. I don't know if Jim Larinaga is going to be there next year or not. They're probably going to have a mass exodus from that roster. The thing is, they're talented, though. They've got some good pieces. Nigel Pack, Matthew Cleveland, those guys are going to be out of eligibility. So is Jalen Blackman, who's really good, who Cal liked last offseason. So it's too bad he didn't have another year. But I want to throw one out there to you. What about Jaleel Bethea? Now, you look at the numbers, and it's like, all right, what's the deal here, Kurt? 6.7 points, 1.6 boards. He's shooting at under 40% from the field. Hear me out for just a second. Maybe he's a change of scenery candidate. Two things of note. One, he is a former 5-star top 10 prospect. So it hasn't popped yet over there at Miami. We know that situation's a mess, but he was really, really highly regarded, a coveted shooter as well, 6'5" wing. Two, he's from Pennsylvania. You see that? Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. We know how John Calipari recruits up there. We know the connections that he has up there. So I'm just saying, keep an eye on that. If you think back to last portal season, when 5-stars, McDonald's All-Americans hit the portal, even guys like TJ Power, guys from Duke who didn't really play that much as freshmen, they hit the portal. Cal was connected to all of them. So you have that. Add on the Pennsylvania connections there. He would be one where I would seriously keep an eye on if he wound up hitting the portal and wanted to get out of there. I don't know what his pro stock looks like now. He was probably projected pretty high coming into the year. Hasn't had the greatest freshman season yet, and we know that Miami's a mess. So no telling. We'll keep an eye on it. UTSA. Listen, as much fun as Primo Spears was to watch, I think I'm probably going to pass on that experience personally. From, what was it, Duquesne to Georgetown to Florida State, now to UTSA. I don't even know if he has another year. Maybe he does. But yeah, probably would pass on that. And then it was the Michigan game. I don't know. I guess I'd take the Danny Wolf dude. He's only a junior. He's really good. He's working his way into being a draft pick. And the one thing about him, Danny Wolf, by the way, is the 7-footer from Yale who is like a point forward out there for him. He was the guy that was handling in all the ball screens, just an incredible playmaker. He almost had a triple-double against Arkansas. Has almost had triple-doubles against a lot of teams. The one thing about him is he doesn't shoot the three that well, actually, or he hasn't, at least so far, which has been interesting. He's really good. I don't know why he would leave Michigan necessarily. If he did, he would be highly, highly coveted. I imagine he's getting a bag and will continue to get a healthy bag there for Dusty May. A guy maybe to keep an eye on. How about Sam Walters? Interesting player. He started his career at Alabama, was a true freshman, 6'10" stretch forward. He shot 100 threes. He didn't make them all. I think he was like 36 of 99 though, from three as a true freshman at Bama. And he's kind of in that stretch role at Arkansas, but he's, behind Wolf, behind Vlad Golden, behind Cheddar, so he doesn't have that much of a role over there right now. He did hit a couple threes on Arkansas. An interesting player, 6'10", 200 some odd pounds. And, maybe a guy in a role who could be interesting if he became available again. Last couple games here, like UCA, listen, sign me up for the Lane Taylor experience. I absolutely love the freshman from Farmington. I do. So much fun to watch. He's having an awesome freshman season over at UCA. Here's the thing, though. I just want to see him ball out. I want to see him ball out. I want to see him have a great career. As cool of a story as it would be, I'm just not sure he would have those opportunities at Arkansas. I'm just not sure that he would. Maybe he should stay put and just be a legend down there. Really, really fun. I would love it. I know some people are like, oh, maybe he'd come and be one of those, non-NIL scholarship guys or whatever. He's better than that. He really is. He's absolutely better than that. I don't know that he's Arkansas John Calipari, no disrespect, good enough to be, a dude in a rotation in the SEC. I mean, look at the league. It's ridiculous. I think he's in a really good spot where he's at. I would love it. I think it'd be an awesome story, but like I said, I just want to see the man hoop. And then North Carolina A&T yesterday, listen, the two chuckers from Arkansas, no thanks. It's cool. Those two dudes, Ryan Forrest and Landon Glasper, they're fun to watch, and I'm sure they're having the time of their lives just with the ultimate green light over at NCA&T. 49 shot attempts between the two of them. I'll pass. I like Arkansas's got two, top 10 5-star guards who are going to come in who could do that. So as interesting as that is, and anytime you see the dynamic of, oh, guys from Arkansas, maybe, in a lot of cases, I would agree with that. In this one, maybe not. I'm also not sure if Glasper has more eligibility or not. I'd have to go look at it. But there you have it. Just having some fun, right, with the non-conference schedule so far, and just throwing out a few names there. Some under the radar guys, some mid-major guys, some 5-star freshmen that you might have forgot about. So just some names to throw there on the board. I know people love that stuff. And then as we continue to go through the SEC slate, we'll continue to talk about all these guys. And hey, John Calipari made a statement, coming out in his first offseason with Arkansas, getting a guy like Jonas Adu out of the SEC to come be a Hog. So we'll definitely keep our eyes on those guys as well. And then, you see how we're covering portal seasons for football. So you already know I'm going to be all over it when basketball starts. I can't wait. But hey, really appreciate you guys for tuning in. I know it's a little bit of a longer episode, but I figure people are traveling. They might need a little bit more time to listen to some stuff. We might go a little bit longer on some of these here over the holiday, just because we have the time to do it. There's not as much going on, but thank you guys for listening and tuning in. If you're not subscribed to the Inside Arkansas YouTube channel, go ahead and do that. Give us a listen. We've got the basketball content every single day with the Pot at the Palace, Inside Arkansas Live, Monday through Friday with John, Andrew, and myself. We got Bombastic starting to roll out several times a week. If you want to get primed up for baseball, Andrew's got you covered for that, and we're all over this portal season stuff. There's also a bowl game coming up next week. We'll cover that too. But I'm out of here. Appreciate you guys. Been Curtis Wilkerson with Inside Arkansas on the Pat the Palace. We will see you in the morning. Everybody have a good one.